Today's lesson is the Green Man, an ancient symbol of renewal. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
Hello, I'm Kiki.
And today we're going to continue talking about the Green Man, who is symbolized all over the world, at least in Europe, I must say, but perhaps they have the Green Man in other parts of the world. What exactly is the Green Man, or should I say, who is the Green Man?
Well, the Green Man is somebody that was depicted as a person with a face made of leaves, or he could also be a man staring through foliage with plants growing from his mouth. And usually when you saw the Green Man, it means that spring is here.
Right, so it's kind of a symbol of renewal, and of course in Europe there, where the Green Man probably came from, they do have cold and harsh winters. We get kind of cold and rainy here in Taiwan, but winters here are certainly not as severe as those in Europe there, so they had to develop some sort of way to remind people that, hey, it's not so bad. Yes, it's cold right now, and you need to wear bear skins when you go outside, and you need to build campfires to keep warm. But things are going to get better in the spring, and one way to represent that renewal is to have this symbol of the Green Man. And we found out that they've got carvings of the Green Man all over Europe and other parts of the world as well. And we also learned that the Green Man was probably used to convert pagans to Christianity.
That's right. And even though we're not clear about exactly where the Green Man comes from, most believe that it came from Celtic myths, okay? So today we're going to find out more about the Green Man. So let's listen to part 1.
Different depictions of the Green Man can be found throughout history and literature. In the poem Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, for example, Sir Gawain comes face to face with a green knight, whose face is made of leaves and branches. Some have even put forward the idea that the characters Peter Pan and Robin Hood are themselves versions of the Green Man, as they both represent a kind of wild freedom.
大家好，第一部分首先介绍名词 depiction， 意思是描述或是描绘。例如 The journalist's depiction of the event was so detailed that I felt like I was there. 记者对这件事件的描述非常详细，让我有身临其境的感觉。又或者说 The painter was famous for his detailed depictions of country life. 这位画家以其对乡村生活的细致描绘而闻名。接下来是片语 put forward something， 它指的是提出点点点。例如 Thomas put forward the idea of having a contest in order to spread the word about our company's new products. Thomas 提出办比赛的主意，好替我们公司的新产品做宣传。或是 The developer put forward a proposal to build a condo on the abandoned lot. 该开发商提案要在废弃空地上盖一栋公寓。再来看到 literature， 它是名词，意思是文学或是文学作品。例如 Penny studied American literature in college, so she spent a lot of time reading novels. Penny 读大学时研读美国文学，所以她花了很多时间看小说。或是 In this English course, you will read a lot of literature by some of England's greatest authors. 在这门英语课程中，你将会大量阅读一些伟大英国作家创作的文学作品。
Okay, so part 1 here begins by saying different depictions of the Green Man can be found throughout history and literature. So here we've got the word depiction. That just means how something is shown, the visual quality of something, the representation of something, and the verb here is to depict. So this can be used in lots of works of art like literature. How is the character depicted? How is the character described or shown?
In the poem Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, for example, Sir Gawain comes face to face with a green knight whose face is made of leaves and branches. Okay, so this is a poem and it's called Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So I'm guessing the Green Knight might be the Green Man, okay? So we see that Sir Gawain, he comes face to face. So he comes in person in battle with this Green Knight. And he sees that this Green Knight, his face is made of leaves and branches. Okay, so what happens next?
Well, we've got Sir Gawain, and I think he's a nephew of King Arthur or something like that. He's out riding his horse in the forest, and he comes across this Green Knight. So he comes face to face with that Green Knight, which means he gets up close and he can see the face of the Green Man. So, of course, sometimes if you're wrestling, for example, you'll come face to face with your opponent. You'll be wrestling with each other, and you can see the person really close up. In this particular case, he sees the Green Knight, and he notices that the Green Knight's face is made of leaves and branches. So that must be quite unusual to see. I know I would freak out if I saw something like that. Wow, this person's got plants and branches growing out of his face. That's really weird. Maybe I'm hallucinating or something.
Definitely. So we're talking about the Green Man being depicted as the Green Knight, and there are also other depictions, okay? So some have even put forward the idea that the characters Peter Pan and Robin Hood are themselves versions of the Green Man, as they both represent a kind of wild freedom. Okay, so instead of just thinking about a scary man with a face made of leaves and branches, some people have put forward the idea that it might also be Peter Pan or Robin Hood. So when you put forward something, you are putting out or sharing an opinion or sharing a thought about something. So in this case, people are suggesting that hey, maybe Peter Pan and Robin Hood, they are versions of the Green Man as well, because they represent a kind of wild freedom. Okay, so we know Peter Pan, he's the boy that never grew up, and he flies around with the lost boys, and they're having fun all the time. That is a sort of freedom. And Robin Hood, of course, we know he steals from the rich and gives to the poor. And they both wear kind of similar green costumes.
And here we've got the word version. So again, we've got Peter Pan and Robin Hood, and people think they are versions of the Green Man. A version is just a form of something that's a little bit different. Maybe it's an improvement on something. If you've ever read a novel, for example, it might be made into a film. So, of course, you've got the book version of that story, or you've got the movie version. A lot of people prefer the book version to various stories as opposed to the movie version. You'll probably have different versions of your software program in your phone or on your PC. There'll be different versions like Windows 10, Windows 11. Those are different versions of a software program.
Okay, that's the end of part 1. Let's listen to part 2.
However, the name Green Man wasn't actually used until 1939, when the folklore scholar Lady Raglan noticed how depictions of a man with leaves and twigs were common in historic buildings, like churches, and decided to use the term to describe them. She also connected this figure to the English tradition of Jack in the Green, in which people dress up as trees in celebration of the arrival of summer. To this day, many towns and villages across England have Jack in the Green festivals on May Day.
第二部分来看到名词 folklore， 它有民俗或是民间传说的意思。例如 Every country has its rich, unique folklore. 每个国家都有其丰富而独特的民俗风情。或者 According to Taiwanese folklore, if you whistle at night during the ghost month, the ghosts might follow you home. 根据台湾的民间传说，鬼月期间如果在晚上吹口哨，鬼魂就可能会跟着你回家。接着是片语In celebration of something， 表示为了庆祝点点点。举例来说 In celebration of Sherry's birthday, her mother threw a surprise party. 为了庆祝 Sherry 的生日，妈妈为她办了惊喜派对。或是 The boss bought his employees a lunch in celebration of good sales performance. 为了庆祝好业绩，老板请员工吃了一顿午餐。接下来介绍片语 to this day， 它的意思是到现在或是直到今天。我们可以说 To this day, everyone still talks about the earthquake. 大家至今都还会谈论那场地震。又或者说 My friend disappeared 5 years ago. To this day, I don't know what happened to her. 我的朋友5年前就不见踪影， 一直到现在我都不知道它发生了什么事。另外补充同义片语 to date TO:"DATE to date 它的意思是至今或是到目前为止。举例来说 To date, I have visited well over 20 countries. 至今我已造访超过20个国家了。最后一个例子 There have been over 10,000 customers served in this restaurant to date. 目前为止，到这家餐厅用餐过的客人已经超过1万人次。
Okay, it's time for us to discuss the contents of part 2 here. It says, however, the name Green Man wasn't actually used until 1939 when the folklore scholar Lady Raglan noticed how depictions of a man with leaves and twigs were common in historic buildings like churches and decided to use the term to describe them. So all throughout history of the Green Man, they didn't actually call him that. They probably had different names for him, but we are using the name Green Man now because of Lady Raglan. She's a folklore scholar, which means she specializes in folklore, which is kind of like stories from the land, stories from people that have passed from generation to generation. So she checks out those old stories, like the old fairy tales and stuff like that, and she noticed that lots of depictions included this man with leaves and twigs, and they were common in historic buildings like churches. And so she decided, I think I'm going to make up this term, Green Man, and call him that from now on.
Wow. 1939, they started to call him the Green Man, and it was because Lady Raglan noticed different depictions of this man, especially with leaves and twigs. What is a twig? It is a slender, woody thing, a little stick that grows from a branch, or it is from the stem of a tree or a shrub. So basically, they're smaller, thinner pieces of wood. Basically, they're little sticks, okay? So they're twigs. And she noticed that this man with leaves and twigs, they were very common in a lot of different buildings. So she decided that this guy needs a name, and I'm going to call him the Green Man.
Right. They probably did not use that term before. They may have used it in different areas, but that's the term that she decided to use, and the name just kind of stuck. And yes, indeed, that's the term we're using now. She also connected this figure to the English tradition of Jack in the Green, in which people dress up as trees in celebration of the arrival of summer. So when summer's coming, it gets nice and warm in England, and they decide to have a celebration. So if you talk about in celebration of, that just means to celebrate. We're having this party in celebration of Mr. Hong's 30 years at his job. He's retiring now.
Okay, so people will dress up as trees because they're celebrating the arrival of summer. So that's very interesting because the Green Man not only symbolizes the coming of spring, but it can also symbolize the arrival of summer. To this day, many towns and villages across England have Jack in the Green festivals on May Day. Okay, so to this day, or even up until now, up until this present day, they are still celebrating Jack in the Green. So a lot of towns and villages across England, they will still have this Jack in the Green festival on May Day. And May Day is May 1st.
Exactly. And of course, lots of people have the 1st of May off because it's considered like International Workers' Day or something like
Labor
that.
Day.
Labor Day. There you go. That's a better term for it. And yes, indeed, if you're in England in just a couple of weeks, you may run across a celebration of Jack in the Green going on. I'm sure the people there will be very hospitable and they will let you join in the festivities. Okay, we're at the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's listen now to the third part and finish talking about the Green Man.
Whether the Green Man is seen as a Christian symbol of rebirth or a pagan symbol of renewal, it is clearly an enduring image. For centuries, it has served as a comforting reminder that there will always be brighter days and new opportunities in the future.
Okay, in part 2, we learned a little bit about Jack in the Green, where people dress up as trees, okay, celebrating the arrival of summer. So now let's continue and wrap things up in part 3. Whether the Green Man is seen as a Christian symbol of rebirth or a pagan symbol of renewal, it is clearly an enduring image. Okay, so we know that originally this man made of leaves, or this man that had plants growing out of his mouth, he was a symbol for pagans of renewal, suggesting that life just keeps coming back, things are reborn, it continues. But then we saw Christians connecting this symbol with Jesus Christ, and they started to use the green man as a symbol of rebirth, because we know that Jesus Christ, he was resurrected after 3 days after he's been crucified, but he was born again. So they used the green man as a symbol of rebirth. Now, rebirth is, of course, the process of being born again or being reincarnated or coming back alive. And sometimes it's just a way to describe a period of new life, growth, or activity. So I could say that this summer I went to a yoga retreat, and after I came back, I felt like I've gone through a rebirth.
Interesting, or a renewal, or a resurrection, or whatever you want to call it. So rebirth is just when something's born again, like in Hinduism or Buddhism, they believe in the process of birth, death, and rebirth. You just repeat these things over and over again until you reach nirvana. Then you don't have to do that anymore. But here, it's a Christian symbol of rebirth, the resurrection of Jesus, or your own discovery of Jesus in your heart, and you've accepted him as your savior, and your life changes for the new. And it's clearly an enduring image. If something's enduring, well, it lasts for a long time. And indeed, that is a very attractive image. A guy dressed in green or covered with leaves and twigs and things like that. Lots of people would find that very appealing. I know I would, because if you see green things like that, it can make you feel that, hey, things aren't so bad after all. Spring is coming, summer is coming, and that cold, dark winter will soon be a thing of the past.
Well, I think what's interesting is I didn't know that the green man, who he was, but after I heard the depiction of him, the face made of leaves, now I can recall, oh, I've seen that type of image before of the green man. So it really is an enduring image. So for centuries, it has served as a comforting reminder that there will always be brighter days and new opportunities in the future. So this man, this green man, this symbol of rebirth or renewal, he has been a comforting reminder for hundreds of years. So a reminder is basically something that causes someone to remember something. Okay, so I know that I had to text Roger to give him a reminder of our program today, so make sure you come to work today, Roger.
Yeah, I always forget. I'm always busy doing other things, like having fun, watching movies, playing with my phone or something. So yeah, I did need a reminder to come to work today, and that's what a reminder is, just somebody telling you to remember something that you're supposed to remember. So this is a reminder that spring is coming, and there will be brighter days and new opportunities in the future. And we're at the end of our lesson for today. It's time now to turn things over to Hanny before we discuss a question.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分的第二句提到，在高文爵士与绿骑士的这一首诗当中，高文爵士迎面碰上一位绿骑士，他的脸是由树叶和树枝组成的。好，文中它是用 come face to face 来表达迎面碰上。那么 face to face 可以当形容词或副词用，去表达面对面或是面对面的。那我们也顺便补充几个跟 face to face 有类似结构的用语哦。好，第一个补充的是 head to head， 这是表达一对一正面对抗，就像牛啊、鹿或者是其他动物在互斗的时候，会用他们的头或者是脚来相撞。那这个用语常常用来比喻可能是 在牌局啊，或者是运动比赛等等里面，双方正面交锋对决的意思。那可以当形容词或者是副词用。举例来说 Danny and his brother will go head-to-head in the school spelling bee next Monday.Danny 和他的哥哥下周一将在学校的拼字比赛中来对决。好，那第二个补充的是 toe to toe， 脚趾碰脚趾，那就是用来描述双方因为争执而靠得很近，也就是指近距离对抗的、近距离对战的或是正面竞争的。那第三个补充的是 back to back， 它的字面意思是背靠背，那是用来表达一个接一个的或是连续的那种意思。那当我们用 back to back victories 就可以表达接连取得胜利的意思哦。好，那么第四个补充的是 hand to mouth， 它的字面意思是从手到嘴，那比喻说只有少量的钱或食物只够供给眼前所需，那也就是中文说的勉强糊口的意思咯。我们其实还可以用 live from hand to mouth 或者是 live hand to mouth 来表达某人经济拮据，仅能糊口。举例来说 He's been living hand to mouth since he lost his job， 自从他失业以来一直都只能勉强糊口。好，那我们读到课文第三部分最后一句，他说到 For centuries It has served as a comforting reminder 这样，他就是说啊，几个世纪以来，绿人一直都作为一种令人欣慰的提醒。那当我们用 serve as 加上名词，可以表达充当什么，用来作为什么什么，或者是担任什么什么，那就跟 function as 加名词，或者是 act as 加上名词，意思会差不多。例如Humor can serve as a tool to lighten the mood. 幽默可以作为一种缓和气氛的工具。再造一个例句是 Dave has served as the team's coach for 7 years. Dave 担任那支球队的教练已经7年了。好，那么以上今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Depiction. The film's depiction of ancient Rome was praised for its historical accuracy. Literature.Studying literature can allow us to explore different cultures and points of view. Version. The author produced a revised version of the novel after considering the feedback from her editor. Folklore. The village was rich in folklore, with tales of imagined creatures passed down through generations. Twig. The small bird spent several hours collecting twigs to build a nest with. Enduring.Although his songs were never particularly popular, the singer has had an enduring influence on other musicians. Reminder. Jesse left a note on the fridge as a reminder to buy some groceries.
Discussion starter starts now!It's
time now for our discussion starter for today. Here's the question. Besides the green man, what are some other symbols that represent renewal?
One symbol that signifies renewal is the phoenix, because we know a phoenix rises from the ashes, and that's how a phoenix is born. And usually phoenixes represent rebirth and something new is coming. So a phoenix is a symbol of renewal.
Right. Well, the symbol I can think of is the Easter bunny, okay, or rabbits during Easter, because rabbits, of course, produce a lot of baby rabbits. They breed like rabbits, as we say. So if you see a rabbit at this time of year, you know things are going to be new, and there are going to be lots of little baby bunny rabbits running all over the place. Oh, they're so cute.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Kiki.
I am Roger.
See you next time.